Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day. Ladies and gentlemen, the gang and I are back with the third installment of albums celebrating their 60th, 50th, and 40th anniversaries. Today we're looking at albums celebrating the 40th anniversaries. This is a list to talk about from one extreme to the other. And I mean that.
And back
I really
again.
do. And
Yes,
back again. Uh, but before I get into the albums we're going to be talking about, gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing good.
We don't see
we
nearly
are
enough of
fine.
each other.
Yeah.
We don't see nearly enough of each other, do we? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got albums to talk about again, celebrating their 40th anniversary. Oh God. Okay. The first one on the list, we have Janet, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Okay. Janet Jackson with the release of Control, released on February 4th, 1986, recorded from June to October of 1985. I'm going to go first on this one. Produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis of Flight Time Productions, released on A&M Records, her third release for A&M. Total playing time of 41 minutes and 46 seconds. Nine tracks in total. This follows up her album Dream Street from 84.
Yes.
The reason why I'm going first, ladies and gentlemen, is because I was 16 when this album came out. The nine tracks on the album, uh, there were seven singles released from the album. All except one single hit the top five or top 10. That single being The Pleasure Principle, produced by Monty Moyer from the keyboardist from the band at the time. Every other single that were released from the album, and those singles being Control, Nasty. What have you done for me lately? Thank you. Uh, Again, also, When I Think of You and Let's Wait a While. All those singles being produced by Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis. uh, Reaching either top five or top 10 on the Billboard charts and charts around the world, with the exception again of the Pleasure Principle. For me, this album, uh, yeah, it has not held up well. I mean, I do respect Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis for their production work. My favorite song of theirs is Human from the Human League. But that's another issue altogether. That's another album to talk about. Um, this album has not held up well for me, and it's a product of its time. That's all I'm going to say. Uh, Ken, your view?
Okay. This album is an example for me of in the mid 80s where the focus of music shifted from the artist to the producer.
Yeah,
Janet Jackson, in my opinion, she has a sweet voice, but she doesn't have a fantastic voice. To me, all of the good stuff is in the music production in this.
yeah,
It's not really my thing. Um, while you were turning 16, I was graduating undergraduate school, college.
oh, God.
Listen, old man,
I
go
know.
yell at a cloud
However,
somewhere else.
however, I do love the video for When I Think of You.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy that video. I enjoy the song. And this is one of the examples of where the single edit of the song I like better than the longer album cut.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But anyway, but yeah, it's just now. Um, I think I would agree with you, Armando, that it hasn't weathered well. But do agree it's definitely of its time. And I would say that it hadn't weathered, except I really wasn't that into it at the time. But Oh, but yeah, but to listen to this now, as opposed to a lot of other, you know, um, synth pop or whatever you want to call it of the 80s that do still hold up quite well for me.
Yeah.
This isn't one. And probably if I loved it, even if I loved it at the time, I'm not sure it would have weathered well. So so this is a turd in the time capsule for me.
Turd in the
It's just
caps.
yeah, I mean it perfectly encapsulates, a lot of what was going on
Okay.
in hit music. But it's just you know, I'll download the video off of YouTube and let the rest go away.
Okay, I'm going to add a caveat
Yes.
with regards to the music. Between the album version of the singles and the singles that were and the single versions, there were different mixes used
Yes.
in terms of the drum tracks, beefier drum tracks, or simulated drum tracks for Control, for When I Think of You, songs like that. So I prefer the single versions
Hmm.
because the was different. The mixes were different. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. But and I do agree with you with her tone, her voice. There's not a lot of depth to it, not a lot of scope. But I'm not one to gossip, so you didn't hear that from me. Okay, so go with your opinion on Control. Okay, so
Control.
I would probably say I'm not qualified to comment here. This is really not my zone at all. I do not understand this kind of music. Uh, so I wouldn't want to put myself at risk by saying something that may not be appropriate because I really don't get this music at all. It's not my thing. It doesn't appeal to me. And yes, it's very much of its time. I mean, all that percussion and production is it's got 80s written all over it. It doesn't, you know, stuff like that has to have like a good melody or a good, something over it. And I didn't hear anything here.
yeah, yeah, and the fact, just a little another caveat, the fact that she used Jeanette Dubois in the video for Control, playing her mother, who, played her mother on Good Times when she was Penny.
Yeah.
Just a little throw in there. But yeah, okay, I get that. Okay, I'll shut up. Jim, your review of Control. Sorry.
Uh, Gee, guys. Um,
Uh-oh.
I know. Here it comes.
Here it comes. Um, so yes, it is very much of its time. Very much a product of the 80s. Absolutely. Yes, I know that this album touches on the prime sin of any album that Armando holds, that too many singles were released. I understand that this album, embraces that fully. Um, However, this is an amazing record.
From a pop point of view, yes, I get
Yes,
that.
yes, it is an amazing pop album. And frankly, all nine tracks could be singles. They maybe not be top five singles, but
Yeah,
they all have that sort of, element to them that, makes them extremely popular.
yeah.
When I think of you, even when it came out, I recognized it's like that's a 10 out of 10 song. It is
Hmm.
so well written, so well produced. I think it plays to all of Janet Jackson's strengths in her voice. She doesn't have the strongest voice out there, but Ken, I think you might have called it sweet. And,
Yeah.
it kind of touches on all those things very, very well. I got sick to death of hearing Control, all around me in the mid 80s when it came out. I did
Hmm.
not buy this album again. There was no need to. I heard it everywhere, from
Yeah.
blasting out of people's dorm rooms and radio and, everything else. Um, this album, just from a purely musical academic standpoint,
Oh
is
Lord,
pointed
he
to
lowered
as
his
a,
glasses.
here we go. It's a progenitor of the New Jack Swing style of soul music that began to become really popular in the late 80s, early 90s. And New Jack Swing, quoting liberally off Wikipedia here,
Yeah.
can be defined as pop music usually performed by black musicians that combines elements of jazz, funk, rap, and rhythm and blues. Producers created synthesized tunes and sampled beats using digital synthesizers, drum machines, and samplers to lay an, quote, insistent beat under light melody lines and clearly enunciated vocals. And I think that does really describe what's going on with Control. Um, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis freaking hit it out of the park on this one. It's very much of its time, but yet I don't think it's offensive and sort of stuck in that time, like a lot of other records can be when you call them products of their time. I think it kind of transcends it because the production is so strong and the melodies are, really so good, and
They're
it's
kicking
just
it. They're
it,
kicking
it
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredibly catchy music, and I would listen if this came on again. I would probably not turn it off, but by the same token, I wouldn't go seek it out unless it's like, darn, I want to get up and dance for some reason. Um, which, God forbid people seeing me get up and dance. Just get that image out of your head. But I really,
Kill the
really,
visual.
yes, mind bleach. I seem to be the only outlier here that really likes this record.
Okay, I'm gonna say something quickly. I think that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis as songwriters and producers, you couldn't at that time, they were kicked out of the band The Time. Prince fired them from The Time. They went on to work with the SOS band with songs like, Just Be Good to Me, etc. Uh, Other artists like Sherelle, and then they hooked up with Janet Jackson. And with this album, they hit the Midas touch. I mean, like just this album was everywhere in '86. I think for me, this album suffers from overexposure. I mean, and even when they worked with the Human League for the album Crash, it came out in the same year. Later on, like in later '86, with the song Human, I think that to me that's my favorite song from the Human League.
Mine
Just
too.
yeah, I think you couldn't escape Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. You couldn't escape them at this point in time. I just think that again, this album just suffers from overexposure. And just a little quick note: when she did her press for her album Janet in '93, people were coming up to her and saying, because her songs on Janet were more more mature, more sexually oriented, whatever. And she had parents coming up to her and people coming up to her and saying, "Well, why don't you do more songs like Let's Wait a While?" And she's like, "Well, how long do you want me to wait? I'm almost 30, for God's sake, in terms of that." Like, come on, right? And I mean, artists are going to change. They're going to evolve. They're going to do different stuff, right? Yeah, I mean, you couldn't escape the hit factor of this album. The fact that, again, overexposure. When the Pleasure Principle came out as a single, I'm like, again, another single? And this was back in '87 when it came out, right? And that's the only single that didn't hit the top 10 or top five. Monty Moyer, who was another keyboardist in the time, produced it and wrote it. It didn't fly. It was
So it's his
good.
fault.
No, it didn't fly. It wasn't, it was a, and that video is of her doing in the dance studio, doing some dance routines and stuff. It's a good song. It's just, whatever. I didn't, overexposure for me. That's all.
So are you saying that she's the Taylor Swift of her time?
No, she's got more talent than Taylor Swift. I saw her live in concert in '93. Tony opened the show. I went with my sister Carm, who passed away.
Well,
Good artist. It was between, little side note, it was between either seeing her at the Sky Dome at the time or Meatloaf at Massey Hall. I picked her and I don't regret it. I'm sorry. November 26th, 1993. It was a Friday night. Thank you very much. Catch the show. All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we must move on from one extreme to the other. We have Talk Talk with The Color of Spring, released February 17th, 1986. uh, Rest in peace, Mark Hollis. We will continue. Recorded in 1995, released on EMI Parlophone, listed as art pop, experimental pop, uh, 45 minutes and 40 seconds, produced by Tim Freeze Frias Green, sorry. The singles being Life's What You Make It, Living in Another World, Give It Up, and I Don't Believe in You. Oh, Ken, your view?
I think Jim should go first on this one.
Okay, Jim, let's break it up.
This is by far my favorite Talk Talk album. And I think it is when we did our series of perfect albums, this was one of my perfect albums.
Yeah,
And I think this may just be in my top five albums of all time. I think this album is just a flat out masterpiece of this perfect blend of acoustic instruments and electric, this kind of we got one foot in, modern pop songwriting and another in kind of neo psychedelia. And it kind of just is this perfect amalgam of styles and songwriting and performance. Every song is different from the one that came before it on this. Um,
yeah.
I don't know. I appreciate my good sir, Mr. Cheshire, for recommending that I go first, but I kind of want to hear what other folks have to say, and then I can maybe either give a hearty harumph and, agree with everyone, or just kind of call everyone ignorant sluts at the end because they don't understand how awesome this record is. Um, I just think this is perfection,
You
and
would
Ken
tip,
can tell you why.
yeah, you would tip your toupee if you were wearing one, if you could. Okay. All right. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Ken, please go.
This album is definitely in my top three of Talk Talk,
Yeah.
and um, not so much after this album, though. Um, they had one foot firmly planted in experimentation, but not so much ambient as they would go into after this album.
Yeah.
Um, um, Part of the strength of this album is the use of additional percussion in these tracks, other than just the drums. And this,
And real percussion too.
yeah, real
Real
percussion. Yeah,
wood going on
yes,
here.
yes.
Yeah.
And this lends the musical palette
Cheers.
um, a real more width, but at the same time, the music arrangements has much more breathing room.
Yeah.
So you've got this juxtaposition audibly in what's going on. One of the other, for me, biggest things about this album is the addition on three tracks of Steve Winwood and
Yeah.
Robbie McIntosh.
Bloody right.
Winwood, for those that really don't know Steve Winwood's background and just think of him as a singer, Winwood's keyboard work, particularly with organ on this album, is second to none.
Yeah, living in
He is
another
just the
world is just
most brilliant organist, specific as well as the other keyboards. Robbie McIntosh on guitar is perfect in, um, he's just not playing chords here. He's not just playing fills. Uh, he's not playing solos. And especially with Danny Thompson on "Happiness Is Easy" with that double bass. Wow, it's just whole different. One of the great things about the '80s and with the proliferation of electronic musics and keyboards, is not that they were just electronic keyboards, but they were used when used well
Yeah.
in a very um, orchestric manner.
Orchestral. Yeah. Yeah.
Orchestric.
Orchestral.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's probably not a real word, but there I'm going to stick with it.
And
Um,
this on this channel, don't worry about it. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I know. Who's going to listen to me anyway?
Yeah.
But
Sorry, what'd you say?
and this album is a perfect example of that. It's not slathered
Yeah.
in electronics or music. Like I said, there's an incredible lot of breathing room in these arrangements musically,
Yeah.
and like I say, you don't hear Robbie McIntosh just playing chords. He's doing this little thing here, this little thing here.
Little flourishes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that really and that's not to minimize it because it really does add to the overall timbre and flavor of this music. Um, there's only two songs that is maybe goes a little bit too much into the ambient or experimental for me, but that's okay. Um, and the thing about it is like I said, the singles as well as the other songs that we mentioned, especially those three with Linwood and McIntosh. And you get to the end and that closing song, and it starts off with that wonderful, smooth, sustained chord, and that rhythm. It's like, ah, and then it gets into the chorus where it's got
With the
these
choir.
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
choir, and it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Is this, is this Gehenna? What's going on? And
Yeah.
it's very, very dramatic at the same time. So you go from the sparseness of some of these songs
To the
to this
lushness.
huge sound,
Yeah.
with the choir, and that's not to mention the children in
You can't forget
Happiness
the
Is Easy.
children.
Yeah, well, you mustn't forget the children.
Yes.
Um, no child left behind on this album, and so
Sorry.
and it's just amazing. I wish they'd have stayed more in this vein. They were only going to do two more albums after this,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, but I wish they wouldn't have gone any farther into the experimentation for me. Although there are people that the album Eden is their favorite album, and it's like, good for you.
Yep.
But
Okay.
yeah, this is amazing, and I know Jim and I disagree with Talk Talk's first album, but honestly, and I listened to all three of these albums this last week. I stand by that there are strong seeds of the second and third album that are in the first album. But
Okay.
I think you might have to look at it a little bit more, closer, or listen for it. But
Okay.
um, we all feel what we feel. But regardless, great album, great album. Definitely my
Okay.
top three.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken likes the album.
I
All
like
right.
I like.
Okay. Uh, Sigoish, your view?
Well, this was an interesting album. I have listened to Talk Talk on and off here and there, probably even this album in bits and pieces. But this was like the first time I sat down and did a dedicated listening of a full Talk Talk album with, with all my attention on it. And first thing that strikes you is it's quite the leap from It's My Life, which is, the song that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And it's like a fairly archetypal 80s hit if you just exclude the fact that Mark Hollis has such a completely unique and captivating voice that you wouldn't find on most 80s records. It's definitely unique for its time. It's daring. It's not something you would expect of a band that's just had a reasonably big hit. There's just so much of subtlety and
Hmm.
space over here. It's almost like he wants each line to sink in and be given its due before he gives you anything more. It's almost like, okay, I'm giving you this. Take a listen, take a while, ruminate on it, and then I'll get back to you after a few seconds. It's almost like that. There's just so much space in these songs.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
They don't come across as, traditional songs at all. I mean, even though they have, the verse chorus kind of structure, but just because of this very slow pace and, you know, spread out structure, it gives it so much more depth than you would expect of an 80s pop record. I have to listen in more detail to the later albums. I'm not very familiar with them. But yeah, this probably does hit the sweet spot between that, synth pop of the earlier albums and this experimental ambient sound. I dig it. I mean, there's definitely more to gain from repeated listens here. It's not an album that'll grab you immediately, but at the same time, it's one that when you listen to it, you know that you have to spend more time and you have to dig deep and get to the meaning of this. There's a lot hidden here if you
Yeah.
give it the time and effort.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sugosh. For me, I appreciate this album more than when we did our album ranking a year. I think it was a year ago that we did this. Um, you can hear the the change happen, like the metamorphosis, like the morphing of the from the synth pop of the first album through to It's My Life to through this album and into Spirit of Eden and Laughing Stock. This is where the band started to morph into more the experimental jazz freeform feel. I think that this is a great album. Um, Life's What You Make It as the lead off single in North America. That unmistakable repetitive piano riff that comes in, like,
Yeah.
on the low end, like just, the the bass end of the piano, let's say the lower end in terms of the lower notes. Just who it is when you hear that. And the guitar flourishes that come in. It, yeah, nice, really thick guitar tone on this album. It is an amazing album. I have to reappraise this album. This album to me is fan bloody tastic. Mark Hollis at this point for me was taking control and okay, this is what we're doing. Follow me. Boom. Okay. This is what we're giving EMI. This is what we're giving Capital. That they may not like it. Who gives a shit? This is
Well,
what
they
we're
definitely
gonna
didn't
do.
like it with albums 4 and 5, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. But this is what we're doing. Trust me. I know and they did. And I mean, it's my God, like, songs like April 5th, uh, just wonderful, just wonderful. And I mean, there are times when you have to sort of, in terms of Mark Hollis's vocal phrasing, in terms of his diction and
Hmm.
Yeah.
his intonation, you have to really like strain, like, what is he doing? Okay, what is
Yeah.
he saying?
Yeah.
Uh, Towards the end of the album. Maybe that's what makes it unique, I guess, in that respect. Um, I just think that in my reappraisal of this album, I think that it's wonderful. I think that you can hear you can hear the slow transition happening. This isn't like Queen releasing the game, and then bam, hot space, where it's like a solo jolt of like, what the hell is this? You can hear what's going on. Looking back on it and reflecting back on it, you can see what's happening. You can see the morphing happen in terms of the musical direction. This was their last grasp at the pop music ring, as it were, and they held on to it and wrung it out for all they could get. And I think they did a wonderful job with it. I think that with the last track on the album, um,
Time, it's
time,
time.
time,
It's
it's
time.
time. 8 minutes and 14 seconds. Like, oh my God. I just think uh, it's wonderful. The use of the choir is wonderful. And the instrumentation, like to use like a melodica, on the outro. Just the repetition of the melodic on the outro. Unique, unique. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. It's wonderful, wonderful. Guys, watching, if you haven't checked it out, please check it out. You really do. I mean, you really and truly do. But that's all I
Okay,
can say about it.
Jim, your reaction to our reactions.
I give a hearty uh, thumbs up to everyone's reactions
Our
on here. Are a couple other
Are
comments. One of the touches that I love about this album is the way that it bookends. Um, from the sparseness of
Yep,
Happiness is
yep.
Easy with the with its small little touches of piano and acoustic guitar, um, to the children's choir on the chorus, and by choir it sounds like it's maybe what, a half a dozen kids, um, to Time, it's time, where it's these full lush orchestrations and it sounds like a 50 person adult choir
yeah.
at the end. This kind of just very much almost gospel like arrangement in what's going on. Um, yes, April 5th and Chameleon Day both point towards Spirit of Eden and Laughing Stock in terms of what they would go to, but yet it hasn't fully embraced that post-rock sort of deconstruction of music that those albums really, really embraced. Um, uh, yeah, there are a few albums in my life where it's like, okay, it signals a change for me technologically, like when um Steely Dan's Asia and Blue Nile's Walk Across the Rooftops came out on CD. Those were the two albums that made me buy a CD player. It's like, okay, I need to buy a CD player so I can listen to that. When and if there is a 5.1 Atmos release of The Color of Spring, that is when I will, change my stereo and change my speaker setup and fully embrace the 5.1 Atmos type listening. Because I think if there's any album that deserves that full immersive, expansive experience, it's going to be Color of Spring. And if I could donate to some fund that would allow Mark Hollis's people to let Steven Wilson get his hands on this, I'd definitely be throwing money at that to contribute to that fund.
But Jim, that's in the box set.
No, it's not. Don't toy with me, Ken, and don't toy with Armando either.
There
I'm on
there
his side on this one.
there
I do have
is
I do have one question for you, Jim. There is a 4 or 5 CD box set of Live Talk Talk. Is it any good? Is the sound quality any good?
It I don't know of it.
Oh, okay.
B, I have heard live talk from '86 from the Color of Spring tour,
Mhm.
where they only toured Europe. Very
German.
sad.
There's a German. Well, they did a show in Germany, I think,
They
on that
did,
tour.
yeah, and there's a video from Montreux Jazz Fest.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then there's, they actually did a limited release album from, I think it was recorded at the Hammersmith Odeon.
yeah.
Um, the stuff from the '86 tour sounds really good. The Color of Spring tunes stand up well. The stuff that they're performing from the It's My Life album really sounds good. Uh, yeah, I just wish that they had played the States. I would have gone in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Um, and I need to sort of track down those releases.
Well,
Okay.
It's great
the,
stuff.
just a quick note, there is a compilation of, I think it's a 2 CD set of all the original mixes, like in terms of the dance mixes and stuff for like It's My
Yeah,
Life and
Yeah,
A
there
sides,
is.
B sides.
A
Yeah.
sides, B sides. Do I want to pay $200?
No.
No, I don't. But I will be looking to get that because I want to get that.
Yeah.
That is on my list. And look into
I
my
think
eyes. I will get it.
I've heard that and I've had it in the past, and I've found it a little bit wanting. Frankly, I
Okay.
don't see the extended mixes or the remixes of the stuff off Color of Spring. It just it doesn't hold up.
Okay. Okay. Duly noted. I'll save my money. Duly noted. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we must continue from one end of the extreme to the other. We have coming up uh, Jackson Brown, Lives in the Balance, released February 18th, sorry, 1986. Recorded in late summer to late fall 1985, produced by Jackson Brown, released on Asylum Records, its longtime label at the time. Uh, Singles of the album being For America, Lives in the Balance, and In the Shape of a Heart. Oh boy. Total playing time of the album 39 minutes and 15 seconds. Ken, your view?
Okay. For me, Jackson Brown was one of the great singer-songwriters of the 70s. All of those albums, um, and I think he peaked with Running on Empty, the live album.
I
My
have it.
personal overall favorite is The Pretender, but the ones before that, Saturate Before Using, all those other albums are just absolutely brilliant. He, like Laura Nyro, um, he wrote a lot of songs, and a lot of his really good songs were are more recognized as being recorded by other artists.
The
You know,
Eagles.
yeah, the Eagles. He was part of that California. What was it? Um,
Laurel Canyon.
Laurel Canyon group. That also spawned, the Birds and Buffalo Springfield and Crosby, Stills and Nash and all that.
Joni Mitchell, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just familiar song, a fabulous songwriter. Mid '80s, though, it's the this struck me as, and my primary note here is just okay songs ruined by mid '80s recording aesthetic and arrangements. Um,
Nicely put. All right.
um, I think actually the songs themselves may be better, but it's just hard to tell, being buried all underneath all this, you know, production manure. It's at least if they'd have brought his vocals out stronger in the mix. But you've got, oh God, especially the guitar in this. It just sounds like something that was recorded for another album by another artist. It's like, well, it's in the same key. Let's just cut and paste it, you know, dub it over, this. It just, um, oh gosh, yeah, they were, I guess, trying to make Jackson Brown, um, uh, trying to
Relevant?
reinvent him into the '80s.
Yeah.
But I think if they'd have just let him do what he's had been doing before, Jackson Brown used a lot of pedal steel guitar in his earlier work, and those are the solos that you heard on Running on Empty. It was just a regular guitar. It was pedal steel and powerful, soloing with that. And there's none of this here. It's like I don't remember who produced the album. It's like, okay, we're gonna bring in all these studio musicians. Okay, who are we gonna get to sing? Well, I just saw Jackson Brown, down at the coffee shop. Why don't we let him come in? It just doesn't. I listen closely to the lyrics and the song structures. Chorus, verse, chorus. I mean, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus.
Fade out. Yeah.
The structure of the songs that Jackson Brown is so good at is still there. Um, Lawless Avenues, Lives in the Balance, for America, he's trying to say something. Ugh, but it just doesn't, there's no muscle.
Yes, Jim? You put your
I just
hand up?
wanted to insert because it was relevant to what Ken was saying. The producer of this album
It's
is
Jackson
Jackson
Brown.
Brown.
Yeah.
So there's really no one to sort of, lay the responsibility on, other than
Sure,
Mr. Brown himself. So
sure. Well, but I think about a lot of what Armando says about albums. What was the record company pushing for?
Mhm.
You know, um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think it was a mistake to um, try to become relevant through production rather than just through what he did best in the 70s. So there you go.
All right. Thank you,
Too
Ken.
bad.
Jim, why don't you follow with your train of thought and keep going, Jim?
I tend to kind of agree with what Ken was saying. The notes that I have here, it says dated production which just undercuts whatever universal earnestness exists in Jackson's songs. Um, uh, the other comment that I'll make here is that I tend to not gravitate towards overly political albums.
Yeah.
I think this because it kind of ruins whatever universality that people can, extract from music and connect with. It becomes, more of a political statement. Um,
Sort of
either
like
either way,
a one-sided view in terms of the content of the album kind of thing. Yeah, I get what
right?
you're
And I
saying.
get that people should, express themselves and have avenues for that. And I do not begrudge Mr. Brown for doing that. I just think tends it can tend to alienate. Um, I think that and along those lines, this also being released in '86 was the burgeoning of the era with musicians and artists who kind of see themselves as savior of the world or a person who tends to think their political commentary
Yeah.
is more substantive than someone else's.
Yeah.
And you get just even the album cover with the Statue of Liberty and this scaffolding.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, I get it.
it's like I get what's going on there.
Kind of like
um
yeah, yeah, I get it. Okay, I'll shut up.
Can you say no nukes? Yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
that was a good concert. So go ahead. Go ahead.
And otherwise, I kind of agree with what Ken said there. But I am anxious to have Sagosh tell us how off base we are.
Yes,
Yeah.
please, Sagosh. Sorry, we're getting off track. Back on script. Sagosh, please go ahead.
Well, the points are valid. I'm something of a Jackson Brown fan. I don't dislike anything he's put out. I will acknowledge this is nowhere near his best work. And I mean, although, yes, this is like a first step towards him trying to project himself as a more political songwriter, but if you really dig deeper into the so-called politics that he's preaching on this album, it's fairly generic. I mean, he's no Phil Oaks.
Yeah.
This is, you know, like the what do you call it? The least common denominator of political music, where you say nice things like, don't make war.
Make love, not war. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I don't see this as potentially alienating, except for people who just believe that, pop songs should will only be about love or something like that. Uh, yeah, it's fair enough for the times, I suppose. I mean, there was a lot of political uncertainty, nuclear fallout, crisis, this, that. Uh, in the light of all that, this is a guy who is, yeah, I mean, in some ways you could call it slightly cynical, trying to stay relevant, trying to stay, trying to establish himself as a more serious commentator in a zone which is not typically his forte.
Yeah.
And I guess that shows. Having said that, I think the title track kind of works. That's the one place where the semi-political message kind of gets across. As a composition, it's more interesting, and it is not as heavily laid down with the uh, 80s production as many of the other tracks. So that's one song that works for me quite a bit. The rest of it, yes, it is not the top uh, rank of his songwriting, really, and the production only makes it worse. That said, I have a soft spot in the shape of a heart. It's
I
just
like
a
this.
nice,
Yeah.
it's pleasant. It's no late for the sky, but it's
Yeah.
Jackson Brown doing his thing, and it's not, the production doesn't completely kill it as it may do to some of the other songs. Uh, could the album have been better in a more acoustic and 70s style production? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think this was an 80s disease that practically everybody who had a career in the 60s and 70s suffered from at some point or the other during the 80s. They all
The other
wanted to.
80s disease. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a thing, you have your under wraps and your whatever it is Neil Young was doing at the time.
Trans.
Yeah, among other things.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it's not unusual. A lot of the 60s, 70s guys were doing it. I would say this is one of the lesser offenders in that regard, in that it may be a little annoying in terms of a promising songwriter doing unnecessary stuff, but at the same time, it's not like wholesale abandonment of his aesthetic in favor of something completely alien, like which is something that for example, Under Wraps did. So, in that sense, it's all right. He could have done a lot worse. Luckily for us, he would rediscover his, true sound and leanings. Couple of years down, maybe not couple of years. He was still in the political zone through the 80s,
Yeah.
but well, 1992 saw the vintage Jackson Brown more or less coming back to life, and
Yeah.
I think everything he's done since that point has been more or less more in line with his 70s work than anything. So this is I would call it an aberration, maybe.
Hmm.
Hmm.
He still had the stuff, just probably going through that midlife crisis and search for relevance among a younger audience.
Certainly nothing wrong with leaning into your strengths.
Yeah.
True enough. Well, for me, there's nothing on this album that really stands out. I mean, it's quite generic in its sound and its approach. It's to me, you do get a sense of him being quote unquote preachy politically. And it does get to a point where you want to, okay, 8 songs in total. It gets to a point where you say, okay, you know what? We've heard it enough. Like, we understand you're upset with the political climate and the political situation in the US and around the world. What else is there that you need that you can give us? Um, it's like with, I don't know, it's just There's just something missing with this album. You were talking about, Jim, about, these musicians turned politicians. Won't name names, you too. Um, Bono, um,
Ding.
Sting.
Yeah,
Um,
we will. We will name names as it turns out.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You know what I mean? Uh, there's just something that is missing from here. This is an album of political reflection, of introspection. Uh, it's just hitting the person over the head with the same hammerhead. Like there's nothing here that for me stands out. I mean, at the time he was dating Daryl Hannah. It's duly noted that for me that his previous release from this was a single "You're a Friend of Mine" with Clarence Clemens, which I do like, by the way. Song's been playing in my head for the past few days. That duet produced by Narada Michael Walden with Daryl Hannah on backup vocals, by the way. But there's yeah, this is not The Pretender. This is not Running on Empty. Uh,
It's no
it's
fountain of sorrow.
No, it's
Mm.
not. There's just
Me
something.
too. Different
This
way.
this was like David Geffen coming to him saying, "We need," or someone at Asylum, because David Geffen had moved on to Geffen Records. This is someone at Asylum Records saying, "Jackson, we need an album. What do you got?" Oh, okay. I've got these songs in the, we can fashion them and put them out. There you go. And that's the feeling I get. That's the feeling I get. In the Shape of a Heart, written for his ex-wife at the time. He had gone through a divorce. I understand that, but it's just there's nothing that stands out on this album for me. I'm sorry.
My question is,
Yes.
why can't, if you're going to put out a political album, for want of a better term, why can't you have some hooks in it? What about catchy hooks?
Yeah,
There's no song on this album that
that
reminds me
stands
of
out.
optometry. Come on.
And as good as Steve Lukather is on guitar, he couldn't save it. He couldn't save it. I
No. Oh
mean,
no,
no.
no. It
I
didn't fit
mean,
for me. Yeah.
no, it's just like, yeah. I mean,
Give me a Doctor My Eyes. Give me, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
mm.
something like that. It's just, yeah. Ooh, okay. Shake that off.
Anyway,
Not shake it off, shake that off. Okay, moving on. All right. The last album that we're going to be talking about, ladies and gentlemen, today in part three of albums celebrating the 40th anniversaries, we have a doozy of an album. Elvis Costello, King of America, released on February 21st, 1986, recorded from July to September 1985, released through excuse me, F Beat and Columbia Records, produced by T-Bone Burnett and Elvis Costello, listed as roots rock, Americana, country. The singles released from the album, there are two: the cover of Nina Simone's "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood" and "Lovable." 15 tracks in total, with a whopping playing time of 57 minutes and 38 seconds. No, 36 seconds. Sorry. Can
And
you
that
feel?
2 seconds makes all the difference.
I pride myself on being factual. Thank you very much. Okay,
no, Jim goes first on this one.
okay,
Sorry.
Jim, please do. I try to be factual, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put it that way.
You have the box?
I have props.
He has the box.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Doesn't
Keep
come
it there.
through.
Keep it there. Keep it there. You're good. You're good.
Yay. King of America is my hands down favorite Elvis Costello record. There is a T-Bone Burnett's production on this, which is very warm, very earthy, very acoustic, mixed with just some of Elvis's most acerbic, pointed, jabbing songwriting. Um, in terms of his, lines that could just, you know, make you wither in place. I mean, the one that just stands out at the top of my mind right now is that she said that she was working for the ABC News. It was as
Yeah.
much of the alphabet as she knew how to use. Um, I just love just how he can just be so devastatingly, undercutting. And it's that combination of that acerbic and that warmth that just really make this album such a standout for me. It's not perfect. I think it's a little long. If you remove the two covers that are on here, I think that would bring it closer to perfection for me. It would just make the album a little bit tighter and sort of keep kind of the internal cohesiveness of what's going on. But, for the Elvis's originals on here, geez, Our Little Angel stands out to me. Brilliant Mistake. I'll Wear It Proudly. Uh, Jack of All Parades. American Without Tears. I just think some of Elvis's his catalog is so rife with top tier songs. It just kind of seems uh, disingenuous to kind of say this album is as full of it as, it's full of top tier songs as any of his records are. But to me, this is the one that I connect with most. And I'm gonna go to my grave saying this is my favorite Elvis Costello album. And if you don't like to quote another line from this album, like a 15-year-old kid with a vampire kiss, if you don't know what is wrong with me, you don't know what you missed. And I think for people who haven't embraced this album, you don't know what you've missed. It's just fan bloody tastic.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. Okay. Sagosh, your view?
Oh yeah, it's a top five Costello for me. Maybe not right up there because my number one is still Imperial Bedroom and maybe a couple of other attractions records, but this is right up there. Extraordinary songwriting, and he keeps it simple. Not a lot of heavy instrumentation or production here. Lets the words shine through like they should, and the delivery is amazing. I think it's one of his best, maybe his best even vocal performance on record. I mean, he's always written great songs, but I think this is the one album on which the vocal performance of those songs really brings out every emotion that the words need in the most perfect way. I don't think he's achieved that on any other record, even though he's probably may have written better songs on other albums. But just the marriage of the words to the voice, I don't think that has happened better than this on any other Costello record. But my God, I have to say, as brilliant as this record is, what a terrible choice in singles.
Yeah.
I mean, you have things like Brilliant Mistake and American Without Tears and Suit of Lights waiting there for you, and then you really Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. I mean, give me a break.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean,
I get that.
thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, what is the relevance of Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood in the middle of the 80s?
Can
I mean,
I
it wasn't
answer
like
that?
they update or anything. It's just a 60s cover which has no sense in this record, has no sense being released as a single. I mean,
I,
what were they thinking?
I think Columbia and F-Beat were looking at, okay, we need a hook, we need an in with this album, we need a
Yeah.
recognizable song, and don't let me be misunderstood. Personally, I like the Santa Esmeralda Latin
Costello,
version. That's just me, anyway.
guy writes 5 songs on his lunch break, and you
I
want
know,
recognizable
I
stuff from
know,
him.
I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. But
I
yeah.
mean, it's absolutely inexplicable. One of the finest records you could ever have, and then you just ruin it with a completely unbelievable choice in singles. Having said that, yes, as Jim said, a couple of songs really don't work that well. Uh, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood being one of them, Poison Rose being another. Eisenhower Blues is again something I could live without. But the rest of it is, yeah, it's up there with his finest songwriting. Uh, for someone like Costello, who's released so much music in so little time, at least up to this point till '86, he was like putting out one album, maybe two albums a year, most
Yeah.
years at this. So the kind, and to say nothing of the amount of B sides and other tracks that
Yeah.
see the light of day till they showed up on 2 CD and 4 CD
Yeah.
deluxe edition, whatever have you. It's insane the amount of stuff he was putting out at this time. And in the light of a phenomenal body of work already, to say that this is right up at the top means something. And it's an outstanding record.
Okay, thank you. Ken, your view?
I agree um, with releasing "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood" as a single, but honestly, I think there was many times when the record company didn't know how to promote Costello albums. Um,
Ooh, shots fired.
well,
I,
no,
I, I
I mean,
agree.
because you never know what you're gonna get,
I'm not disagreeing.
except for maybe the first four, which were in a particular vein, the
Yeah,
new wave, blah blah blah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Personally, I think Costello has a history of doing really good covers, his interpretations and recording. I mean, you look at Get Happy with I Can't Stand Up Without Falling Down, just absolutely nails it.
Yeah,
I, aside from whether it fits on the album or not, I like this cover because of his vocals. Man, he doesn't hold back on these vocals. I mean, he's
Right.
playing, "Oh God, don't let me be misunderstood." I mean, he's
it's
wailing to
it's
God.
it's gut wrenching.
It
That's yeah,
it really is. But
yeah. I
anyway,
got you. I
this
got you.
album, um, when it came out, I mean, it caught me from the very first note with that descending double bass line on "Brilliant Mistake."
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, 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 boom. It's just like, holy cow, here we go. Um, at the time, I wasn't really familiar with who T-Bone Burnett was, and of course, when I bought the CD, actually, brought it home, put it on. I hadn't even read, who produced it, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But and so it didn't really sink in, of course, until the second song. It's like, okay, here we're going into another genre for Costello, and I agree with Jim. I think it's a little too long, um, because for me, Americana goes a long way. A little Americana goes a long way with me. And actually, at the time, I probably wasn't familiar with the term Americana. I would have just called it, country. Not as much country as, you know, his actual country album, but still. Um, and so this album wears a little bit before I get to the end of it. Um, uh, my favorite Costello album remains Imperial Bedroom. And um, this was just a little bit too far in that direction for me to really hold it in as high esteem as, say, our, Professor Bricker here. Um,
Professor Bricker.
Professor
Okay.
Bricker,
He calls
yes.
me
All
the
right.
professor. I don't know
Yep,
why,
that's
but yeah.
not
You've been
not the
promoted from court jester. Okay.
not the first
I
Okay.
not
am
the
the
first
jack of all
time.
parades.
Yes, that's right. On the cover of Spike. Um,
Yeah.
so it, and I wonder about how much of just him buddying up meeting T-Bone Burnett, working together, because was this about the time that Mellencamp was getting a lot of radio play,
Hmm.
which can be argued being a very similar genre.
Well, yeah, Mellencamp released Scarecrow in '85, so around this
Yeah.
time. Yeah, okay, okay.
So I think in the musical landscape in general, between Mellencamp and a few other artists at the time, Americana was kind of a little bit in vogue,
Yeah,
as far as something new, and this was about the time when country music started going more down pop lanes. This is not your Porter Wagner.
oh
Um,
no,
we don't have Porter
No.
Wagner, and yeah, this
Dolly
isn't
Parton.
hee haw
Yeah.
category.
Oh no.
Um, so anyway, and maybe that's the direction, why the record company said, okay, well, yeah, go ahead and do that. But I don't think anyone imagined that they would do it as good as they did.
Yeah.
So yeah, this exceeded all expectations, I think, and they
Mhm.
definitely made use of the compact disc format as far as how much music you can squeeze on that puppy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah. I mean, yeah, this, yeah, sorry. I'll give my
Yeah.
opinion in a sec. Okay.
So as a longtime Elvis Costello fan from the very beginning, his albums don't get any more solid than this.
Okay. For me, and I just came up with this comparison now. For me, this is a solid album. I mean, for me, this is an album that obviously Elvis Costello felt he needed to make. He needed to sort of just exercise whatever he was going through internally and just put it out in this form. Much like in comparison to, I just came up with this, Tears for Fears. Come out with the hurting synth pop, thinking man synth pop. They come out with songs from the big chair. In my opinion, big departure from the hurting. And then they come out with the Seeds of Love.
Yep,
Total,
totally.
my God, out the door with regards to what they're doing on um on songs from the big chair. Uh Back to King of America. I think that the outlier on this album is Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. I agree with you. What in the hell were Columbia and FB thinking? I don't get this. Um, I haven't even heard the original. I know of the 1977 disco remake, which I do like, by the way. 17 minutes and change. Go for it. Now, I do think that with this album, it's almost like a musical diary where this person is traveling around the country, going to different cities and different towns, and writing about their experiences in these various towns. And this is the musical reflection or image of what he saw in those towns and in those bedrooms and in those homes that he stayed in. The standout for me on this album is Indoor Fireworks. It is
Great song.
It is gut-wrenchingly honest. It is somebody saying to their spouse or their friend or their partner, we're hurting each other. What are we doing here? What's going on? Why are we doing this? We have to stop this before it's too late. Okay? I think you can't get much more honest than that. You know, I think it is a long album, and this was back in the time, ladies and gentlemen, where you could fit 15 songs on a single album. It isn't now where, you've got 10 songs, let's make a double LP. It's on double vinyl. It's not like that. I think that overall it is a very good album. It's a very honest album. The use of instrumentation, the use of the French accordion on American Without Tears. I think it was interesting. I think it's brilliant. I think this was at a point where Elvis Costello just said, "I'm going to do whatever I want and forget everyone else. And if you want to come with me for the ride, I'm here. Let's go. If you don't, I will see you when I get back. Don't wait up." You know, I think that, yeah, had they cut it down to maybe 13 tracks, 12, an even dozen, or a baker's dozen, 13, I think that maybe it would have held together better. There's only coffee in the cup. But I think that for what you have here, you have a brutal, honest album, and I think you have an album that screams to be listened to. Whether you do it in stages and segments, or whether you can sit through the 57 minutes and 36 seconds, I think it needs to be listened to, and I think that this was an album that he needed to make. And I do have the the reissue box set. It's over here. I'm not going to pull it out, but I
It's the
think
same thing
that
I showed.
yeah, exactly. But I think that this was a wonderful album. It was hard to listen to. Like
Why was
songs
it
like
hard to listen to?
well, songs like Indoor Fireworks really got to me. That one song was it was gut-wrenchingly honest, and it was just like, okay, yeah, he's telling you exactly what he's thinking. He's not holding back. Are you able to listen to it? Are you able to take it? For that one song, it was hard for me to listen to. It really was due to personal experiences, but it's all out there. He doesn't leave anything hidden. He puts everything out on the table, and you can pick and choose what you want to listen to, you know? I found it interesting that this is listed as an, I don't see this as an Elvis Costello and the Attractions album because that's what it's listed under. I think it's more of a solo album. I look at it as more of a solo album.
Well, when it was originally released, he went to great pains to say, this is the Costello show. It's not Elvis Costello. It's not Elvis Costello and the Attractions. He was really trying to sort of backpedal everything and in a way just to try to like wash himself of this Elvis Costello persona
Yeah,
and try to reinvent himself, which just made it all the more odd that later on in this year you've got an Elvis Costello and the Attractions album, Blood and Chocolate, which
chocolate.
is very much sort of a throwback to his first four albums in terms of tone and whatnot. Um, but yeah, this is people. What's it? Almost Blue is the record of country covers, right,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ken? This is probably, you know, I don't know if it's as radical, but it's at least as radical,
I
as that.
I think this is proof of um I think this is proof of an artist being true to what they need to do musically. Don't let me be misunderstood aside. I don't think that was a good choice for a single.
Yeah.
I think that again that is the one outlier of the album for me because I remember when the video came out, and yes, he does a good sort of almost I'd say whiskey drenched vocal approach with his vocal tone. Because it's like, like let me, I gotta tell you what I'm thinking, and it's like, oh my God, like it's like, you know, but at the same time, it's like, what were you thinking? I mean, like, what were you doing? You know, I mean, I'm, s- it's the one track that it's like, okay, all right, that's the cringe moment for me. But that aside, I think that it is a fantastic album. I think that it's an album that needs to be listened to, whether you can take it in the 57 minutes and 36 seconds, or you need to listen to it in spurts, in sections. You do need to listen to it. You
Well,
really
I
do.
also think that this album could not have been made without T-Bone Burnett.
Right.
I would agree. I would
I
agree.
think to me, in my brain, this is almost like a duet album. It could have been called Costello and Burnett,
And
as
there
far as
are Costello and Burnett albums and
there
songs,
are.
but they're just under the name The Coward Brothers.
That's right. That's
So
right.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say Coward Cousins. I wasn't sure I remember that, but I wasn't sure if I had the Coward Cousins. Okay,
My
brothers, that makes
last
sense.
comment, we've bannered about and poo-pooed "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood." Go listen to the version of "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood" by Eric Burden and the Animals.
yes,
To me, that is the best one.
Okay. Okay.
Animals don't get enough recognition. So there you go.
Okay. Okay.
There you go. Yep.
There you go. There you
You
go. Fair
betcha.
enough. Fair enough. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Albums celebrating their 40th anniversary. We come to the end of this three-part trilogy, as it were. Yes.
I just wanted to throw out there that we actually did an entire episode focused on King of America, sort of deep diving into all the
Yes, we
15
did.
tracks. And so search that out. If your interest is piqued or want to argue with us more, go seek that out and find more points to argue with us about.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful doing these three episodes with these individuals. We never have a boring time. We go off script, we get back on script, we blow up the script, we burn the script, we do whatever we can with the script, but we always get the job done. And I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank my co-hosts and cohorts for coming along with me on this extended, expansive ride, as it were. And please put your comments down below of any of the albums that we talked about in these three episodes. We really want to get a dialogue going. It's a lot of music to cover. It's a lot of music to listen to. Believe me, it was interesting. Everyone, take control of your life, as it were, and
Wait till you
and
see what we have lined up for
for
March
March.
anniversaries. Ooh.
Ooh. Oh yes, yes, ladies and gentlemen. Again, please let us know your views and opinions and comments on these releases that we talked about in these three episodes. We have more episodes that we're going to work on, and we're going to get them to you as soon as we possibly can. And we will see you in March with album anniversaries for March. All right. Have a good day. Look after one another and yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.